Hi guys, apologies. Nothing we can do. So, let's continue. I am recording again and we'll get going here. This one here, this slide here, I would know. Well, you don't have to know it. You just have to have it ready to find it, right? So you've got obligate aerobes. These are absolutely dependent upon atmospheric oxygen in order to supply. Okay? To supply life, to supply everything, to survive. These are what we call obligate aerobes. Okay? Facultative anaerobes. These guys here do not require oxygen for growth, but they grow better with it. Okay? And that's the thing there with these bacteria is over billions of years of evolution. And you think, how many more generational lifespans? Like they reproduce every 20 minutes. And for us there, it takes a long time. And so you just look at the ability there for this genetic variability that they can produce resistance. It's incredible. Some of them are oxygen. Some of them don't need oxygen. Some of them don't need oxygen but do better in oxygen. Crazy. Aerotolerant anaerobes. Okay? They ignore oxygen and grow equally well whether it is present or not. Okay? And we've got obligate anaerobes. They do not tolerate oxygen at all and will die in its presence. So you'll see here the obligates. There's two obligates here. They're on the extreme. Gotta have oxygen. Can't have oxygen at all. So those are your two obligates. Obligate aerobe, obligate anaerobes. And then our two, here we have facultative and aerotolerant. Okay, these guys here, they can live with it or live without. Okay, good little slide there. I would know that one. And just to have a look here of where they hang out. This is an illustration of the growth of bacteria with varying responses to oxygen. Okay, so these are little bacterial colonies here, and you'll see obligate aerobes. Okay, they got to have oxygen, so they're all hanging out by the top of the cap, right? Because that's where they, if there is any leaks in here, the oxygen's going to get in here. Facultative anaerobes, they're okay. Okay, they do grow better with it, but they're okay without it. These guys here, the aerotolerant anaerobes, it's all good. They're not hanging out here hoping and praying for a little oxygen. They're doing all right. And then you got the strict anaerobes here. Okay, these guys here, the obligate. All right, these ones here, no. How are we doing? We okay? Everyone is okay? If there's any questions, anything there, you guys have any questions, let me know. The pH levels there, the concentration of hydrogen ions. Now, just to go into, I asked my students this when we introduced their pH. Which is more dangerous, an acid or a base? And the answer is neither. Okay? Both acids and bases can be dangerous. Okay? But then there are acids and bases that are not, that we use all the time. The pH scale, okay, it goes from 1 to 14. All right? Water, distilled water, is in the middle, 7. So 7 is neutral. Okay? And then it goes all the way down to 0. And anything less than 7 is an acid. Anything greater than 7 is a base. But acids, they get a bad name. And yeah, there are some bad acids out there, okay? Like battery acid, sulfuric acid. That stuff, nasty. In your stomach is hydrochloric acid. It's actually one of our major lines of defense because our mouth there is just crawling with bugs all the way down our esophagus and all this. But then you get into the hydrochloric acid of our stomach, which breaks down all the proteins and helps us, breaks down food in order for us to absorb it. It's also a great way to kill bugs. All right. So stomach is very acidic. It has a pH of about 2, which funny enough isn't that far off from Coca-Cola. Yeah. Throw 25 cents into a glass of Coca-Cola and let it sit there for a while. See what happens. Interesting little scientific fact. The bases, soap has a pH of about 9 or 8. Okay, these kinds of things. Bases tend to be slippery. Okay, soap is slippery. Acids, we eat a lot of acids. Vinegar, lemon juice, these kinds of things. They have that tang. You watch the Food Network or wherever, and it just brightens up the salad. Oh my goodness, it's so flavorful. Well, yeah, you threw a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice on your lettuce. All right, so that's your acids and bases kind of in a nutshell. We talk more about it here, but we'll get into it there. So the concentration of hydrogen. Hydrogen is where acid. This is an acid. Okay, and it can be very dangerous if you get to the extremes. All right, a pH of 14, a very, 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 very strong base, and an acid of 1, very, 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 very dangerous acid. So acids and bases on the extremes of the pH, very dangerous. Anything in the middle, that's okay, depending upon what it is. Okay. So there's your acid and base. Most bacteria grow between about 6.5 and 7, somewhere in there. There are extremes, but we're just kind of shooting for the normal stuff here. Okay. Acid there. I think they're talking about a little stronger acids right here, but you guys will see there acids there below pH of 7. Okay. It's a good preservative. People would use it all the time. Sauerkraut, kimchi, okay, all these kinds of things. They're all fermentation. There's all a bit of acid in there, okay? Acidophiles, okay, can live in low pH. So most bacteria are in and around neutral, like us, right? The pH of our blood is 7.4, all right? And alkalosis, acidosis, these are conditions there when your blood pH jumps to like 7.6. So now it's more basic. Oh yeah, man, it's not good for you at all. And jumps down to 7.2. Now you're in acidosis. Not good at all either, okay? So when we're talking pH of our system, it's very, very fine, okay? But you see these bacteria there, they have a greater range. And then you even see the acidophiles there. They can live at normally unlivable conditions. They can survive in low pH of the stomach, and we all know that some bacteria and viruses, they do make it through our stomach. All right, that's why we get a stomach bug, an intestinal bug. How did it get in there? It came right through. Okay. This one here, Helicobacter pylori. This one here is a good one as well. And okay, for the longest time, ulcers, people who smoke too much, drank too much alcohol, spicy food, they were, for the longest time, they were trying to find a relationship. Why are people getting ulcers? And they figured it out, and it's because of this bacteria, okay? Helicobacter pylori, okay? And this one here digs a hole in the stomach, okay? To the point, and you see, your stomach is just, let's just call it a bag, right? You got the cardiac sphincter up here, you got the pyloric sphincter down here, food comes in and food goes out, right? Your stomach is a bag, and it's on the inside of the bag is basically all these mucus-producing cells. You have acid-producing cells and mucus-producing cells, okay? And it's the mucus, the stomach is coated with this mucus lining, all right, which allows the stomach to have a hugely acidic and it has hydrochloric acid, which, man, will eat through the countertop, okay? But because of this mucus lining of the stomach, the acid doesn't get through to the actual stomach tissue lining cells, living tissue. So that's how the stomach works, all right? But this Helicobacter pylori it gets in there, it lives in the stomach under the muscle layers, and what it does is it allows for holes to happen in the stomach. And so if you have a hole, that means you ain't got any mucus there. That means that acid is able to dig a hole right through your stomach lining. And you can just imagine the issues that go along with having an ulcer. Now you're leaking acid out into your systemic system. Oof, it's a bad one. This is a type of bacteria. These germs there can enter the body and live in your digestive tract. After many years, they can cause sores called ulcers in the lining of your stomach or the upper part of your small intestine. And you have to think while your stomach has mucus-producing cells, okay, your intestines do not. Okay, that's why when the acidic contents called your chyme, your food, drains out into your small intestine, okay, your pancreas is shooting out sodium bicarbonate, bicarb ions, which is a base. So the acidic food is coming through from the stomach to your intestine, and your pancreas is shooting out baking soda, basically, which neutralizes the acid and makes it a pH of 7. So therefore now this food slurry from your stomach can go into your small intestine and get absorbed without damaging, okay, your small intestine. For some people, an infection, yeah, this can lead to stomach cancer and lead to all sorts of things, okay? And it's all because of this bacteria. And this is kind of recent news. This is something I think in the past 10, 15 years we didn't discover this 40 years ago. Okay, this is relatively new stuff. Signs or symptoms. Okay, an ache or burning pain in the abdomen. Sure. Abdominal pain that's worse when your stomach is empty. Interesting. Nausea, loss of appetite, burping, bloating, unintentional weight loss, these kinds of things, because you're not eating enough, because it hurts to eat, and it shouldn't hurt to eat. Okay. pH there for some of these guys, acetophiles, obviously not 0, but close to it, and up to 5.5. Fungi and algae, they prefer slightly acidic environments. A pH of 5.5, I think that's somewhere around milk. I think like a tomato, somewhere in there. Like, I remember when I was a kid and I'd have acid reflux, heartburn. And Mom would give me a glass of milk. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Okay? And when it comes to milk is an acid. So if you have acid reflux, you're actually putting more acid down. So sometimes it doesn't work, but it's the solids in the milk and the sugars that are in the milk there that help with your acid reflux. Neutrophils, these are the optimal growth area here. These include the mesophiles here. They're in here. And then we got alkalophiles. Alkaline, that's a word for basic. Okay, so these guys here are opposites. And these guys here, their pH range is in the upper. Okay, so one of the things you need to know, like if you see an acid, pH is 7, or below 7. 7 is neutral. Okay, 7 is neutral. So 6.8 pH is an acid. Okay, and anything above 7 is base or alkaline. All right, so just to keep it all straight, I know some of you guys don't have the science background. You don't need it. Okay, we're not going too heavy into the why things happen. We're more into what is happening. Okay, and that's it for the bacteria. Just yipping about them and talking about them and all that kind of stuff. Okay. The next section here is control of microorganisms, and what we'll do is we'll just continue on. We're about halfway through this PowerPoint here, okay, and then we'll take a 10-minute break at the end of this, and then we'll continue on with the viruses and the other bugs. Got it? Control of microorganisms, and yes, all of this is on quiz 1 and test 1. Okay, so again, quiz 1 will open there this afternoon. Okay. But please have a look at week 4 stuff because it's all in the quiz and the test. Okay? All right. Oh, yeah. Big time. Know your definitions. And they all mean, you think about sterilization, disinfection, sanitation. Well, you know what? They all mean cleaning, right? But they all have specific meanings. And their meaning is relative to their level of cleaning. Sterilization, bang, the process by which all living cells, viable spores, viruses, everything is destroyed or removed. Okay? So sterilization is the end game. That's all microorganisms, all of their spores. Now you remember those spores, right? Those are they're just so hard to get rid of. Okay? Because they can withstand immense temperature and immense pressure. Like you think the pressure, like if we as a human being went down to the bottom of the ocean, okay, and you think that's not a big deal, but you think that if you're at the bottom of the ocean and you've got 3 kilometers of water on top of you, and you think 1 kilogram, 1 liter of water weighs 1 kilogram. 1 liter of water weighs 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds. So if you have 3 kilometers of water on top of you, plus gravity pushing down, if we went to the bottom of the ocean, we'd probably end up looking like we'd be squished so bad we'd look like a Coca-Cola can. All right? That's the thing with pressure. And, most things like us can't handle pressure because we're squishy and soft and all these, right? But these spores, these things are designed, they're in a circle, which is able to handle as much pressure as you can. Okay? You even look at an egg. You've seen those on YouTube where you hold an egg and you can actually put massive amounts of pressure on top of an egg because it has that spherical edges on it, right? So, sterilization, the complete destruction of and removal of all bugs. Disinfection. And I'm going to read these because they're different, okay? The killing, inhibition, or removal of microorganisms that may cause disease, usually substantially reduce total microbial population. Okay? So this is a little different. It's a little less of a stringent measure than the sterilization. Sanitization. I went outside and I didn't get my coffee. Closely related to disinfection, microbial population is reduced to a level considered to be safe by public health standards. So while sterilization is the complete removal of any and all bugs and their spores and everything, sanitation is the opposite. Kind of. It's the removal of microbial presence from a surface that is effective and to the level of public health standards. So are all the bugs gone? No. But it's okay for now. You're not going to hang out in the Georgian College bathroom. You're not going to hang out in the, Seneca College, wherever. You're going to be there for a certain amount of time, and you're going to get out of there. So, you know what I mean? You're in the bathroom for however long or whatever, 5-10 minutes, this and that. Maybe you're in there for a minute. The level of exposure to infection in the bathroom, it's been sanitized. What does that mean? It's not sterilized. Okay? Doctors, nurses, clinical situations, dentists, they need sterilized instruments. They need things to be sterilized completely. That's the removal. But for a bathroom situation like this, or cleaning, or next time you guys watch commercials like Pledge and all these chemical cleaners there we see on TV, they'll use these words. Okay? See if they're using them correctly. The worst people I find are advertisers. They don't tell the whole story, and they can skew things to scare people. So just have a look at those. Those definitions definitely will be on the quiz test. You know, one of them here, another one there in the test, that kind of a thing. Boy, I'm just giving you guys all the answers, aren't I? Understanding of how to control microbial growth has helped human society tremendously. Like you think, that's why 1,000 years ago the people were dying at 30 years old. That was elderly because we didn't understand these things. We don't understand how they grow, but now we do. We understand a lot, right? And it's just like the whole saying, you can't understand disease until you understand the body. And we're just getting to know the body right now, which means we're able there to find out and help prevent for disease. But as it says right here, we're always in a constant battle. Always. Okay, and you guys are going to be the frontline workers. You guys are going to be the soldiers in this battle against these bugs and these diseases. So what tools, methods do we have to aid us in this battle? Good stuff. There's physical means, okay, of controlling bacterial growth, okay. The four most frequently employed physical agents there: heat, low temperature. You'll see there that low temperature, we're talking about bacteria control. Here we're talking about control. Here we're not necessarily talking about the removal and destruction. We're talking about controlling them. Like you have to think, why do you put your milk in the fridge every day? There's bugs in your milk. There's bacteria. Yes, I'm sorry, that coffee you're drinking, there's bacteria there that it is in there, but it should be okay. You look, that heat is a good control. Fire burns everything, right? Cold, this is an effective way of controlling bugs, not removing them, controlling them, right? And that's why we put food and things in the fridge, because it lasts longer. If you left that glass of milk out on the counter, it would be bad by dinner time, right? Because it's warm, it's optimal, bugs are growing. Every 20 minutes they're growing and they're producing chemicals, and then by lunchtime or dinner time, that glass of milk is, right? But you keep that glass of milk in the fridge, those bacteria are alive, they're okay, they're just really not growing as fast as they could. But if you leave that glass of milk in the fridge for 2 weeks, it'll be bad. Okay. Filtration, of course, that's an easy one. Very, very time consuming, not overly cheap, but that is an effective way of controlling bacterial growth. And radiation. Okay. Fire and boiling water have been used for sterilization and disinfection since the dawn of time, as soon as fire was around, right? And people were able to make clay pots, right? Moist heat readily kills virus, bacteria, and fungi. That's why we use moist heat there in the autoclave, all right? These kinds of things. Boiling water, 100% is not sufficient. For daily living here in your kitchen and the bathroom and these kinds of things, boiling water is the best thing we have that's kind of free, cheap to use to disinfect and sterilize things, okay? But sorry, not sterilize, disinfect things, because boiling water, as you know, is not sufficient enough to kill the spores, okay? And that's the issue there. So the spores we can't kill here in a home setting, but we can sure as heck get rid of the bacteria there, boiling things off, okay? Can be used for disinfection of drinking water and objects not harmed by water, but does not sterilize, okay? And yeah, you know, like you hear boil water, that guy was living in Grey County there over by Owen Sound and Walkerton there a million years ago when the Walkerton water crisis happened. I think that would have been, 1999, 2000, somewhere in the 1999. And yeah, the entire town was under a boiling water advisory. Okay, because I think some cow fecal matter got into the town's drinking water there, and yeah, it was a bad strain got in there, and I think some people died. It was a bad one. Okay, so, but just to let you guys know, boiling water allows for the disinfection, okay, but not sterilization. Okay, so those little words there, wherever they were, people get them mixed up. I'm asking you there to keep them all straight. Okay. What do we got here? And you'll see here optimal growing conditions here, or approximate conditions there for moist heat killing here. We've got yeast, molds, and bacteria. And, you know, the 5 minutes there at 50 to 60 degrees. Okay. 5 minutes there at 70 to 80 degrees will take care of the spores. And you'll see there the spores are significantly more difficult to kill. For molds here, 30 minutes. Okay, these are the normal cells there, 62. Look at the spores, 80. And that's not even close. That's huge difference. Bacteria, okay, and we're taking generally here. We're not, all different types of bacteria, but generally there, the bacteria is there. They'll get whacked at about 10 minutes at 60 to 70 degrees, which is basically what we're looking there for pasteurization of milk, right? You're bringing it up to about 70 degrees or so. And, but look at the spores, 2 to over 800 minutes at 100 degrees. So it's crazy. 800 minutes. How many hours is that? That's a lot. That's 10, 12. Yeah, it's about 13 hours. Boiling something at 13 hours at 100 degrees, and maybe we'll get those spores. Crazy, eh? There's your viruses there. They'll denature at around 30 minutes at 60 degrees, okay? How heat kills? Causes the lysis. I love this word. I think love is a bit strong. It's 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Lysis just means explosion or splitting or... So the whole idea there of a cell, lysis of a cell, it just means, all right, it breaks and its contents spill out and that's it. It's gone, right? So that's what heat does, because you think there that heat is in everything. And if you look at this pencil, it doesn't appear to be moving, but it is. It's called kinetic molecular theory, and I'm not going to test you on it, but it just means there that this pencil here has heat in it. And I know its atoms don't appear to be moving, but they are. All right? And why are they moving? They're vibrating. Because they have heat. Okay? And the more heat you add to a system, it starts to vibrate more. And ice, when you're heating ice, the molecules are vibrating, and then eventually when you heat the ice to 0 degrees, because ice can be colder than 0, right? So when you heat the ice to 0 degrees, what happens is these ice molecules start to break apart. And then you get this liquid water forming. And then as you're heating the water from 10 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius, these water molecules are moving and moving, and then you're heating it more, and then they're getting faster, and then they're getting faster and faster and faster, and all of a sudden you heat this water to 100 degrees and it starts to go popcorn again, pa-choom, pa-choom, and that's how you get water vapor. That's how you get steam. And you can keep heating things, and what happens is they'll start to vibrate and vibrate, and then all of a sudden, that's how they'll blow up. Okay, so that's one of the main things there for heat as far as bacteria goes. It's called lysis of the cell. Okay, and as we said there before, it denatures the proteins, the enzymes, so that all the proteins there that were involved in any type of process there within the bacteria, they're just junk now. Okay. Moist heat sterilization, it is more effective than dry heat. And like when I was a long time there in the Middle East, and I was in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, which is in the middle of the Sahara. There's no water source anywhere, within, 800 miles, 800 kilometers. It's very dry heat, and the temperature would actually get up to about 60 degrees Celsius. Massive, but very dry heat, and actually kind of doable. But I spent a lot of time in Bahrain, and salam alaikum there to anyone there who speaks Arabic. What happens is the temperature in Bahrain, it was a little island country off the coast of Saudi, and it would never get more than 52, 53 degrees temperature, but it was humid. It was like a sauna. Okay, it was like a pressure cooker. And it's much more intense, much more painful. And that's why the idea here, moist, humid heat sterilization is a much more effective way because there's that pressure cooker factor involved here, okay? So this is how an autoclave works. There's pressure involved there. It's just that whole humidity, right? This one here, I think you'll see, decimal reduction time. We just call this their short form for the D value. And I think this is just one slide here. It's not really a big deal. This is a method used to determine the rate of death of microbes. Okay, the time required for a microbial population to decrease tenfold at a given temperature, right? Amount of time there that this population is going to decrease. The decimal reduction time, we call it D value, sometimes called the death value, dead value, okay? So each microbe has a different D value. So depending upon what conditions you place these bacteria in or under, they will die at a systematic rate. And every bug has its own D value, okay? Microbes there with high salt acidic environments have a lower D value. Those with a high fat protein environment have a higher D value, okay? Just means they don't die as quickly, okay? Here we've got, you can have a look here, and we'll get into this right here. I'll come back to this slide there, okay? Typically our emphasis is on the destruction of microorganisms, okay? But remember I was talking about their low temperatures. They're more involved in the preservation or the keeping of these bugs. Because cold doesn't really, these bugs can freeze at minus 20 and that's it. There are bugs there in the frozen north. Then I think I've mentioned to you guys there before that with global warming there, the frozen tundra, the permafrost up north, which has been frozen for 100,000 years, there are bacteria that have been trapped in there, right, for 100,000 years, and they come out of it and they're okay. These spores here, nothing like that kind of stuff there, those spores will live for a long time, okay? So the most convenient control technique is to inhibit their growth, okay, and keeping these bugs at bay in a freezer, okay? Freezing items at minus 20 or lower stops microbial growth, all of it, okay? Some microorganisms will be killed, okay, because ice is less dense than water, so ice will expand. So the water that's in a microorganism could expand, and we could actually have cell lysis that way, all right? Because the water expands and cracks the cell, all right? The contaminating microbes typically are not killed, okay, but their growth is halted, okay? And bugs there that have been frozen for a year at minus 20, we can bring them right back, okay? So the low temperatures isn't really for the destruction, it's more about the controlling. Filtration. This is an awesome method, very, very time consuming. You'll see there that normal milk that's been pasteurized is about $3.69 for a 4-liter bag. And you'll see there that milk that has not been pasteurized but has been filtered, okay, is usually about $2 more for a 4-liter bag because it's more time consuming, okay? This milk is, filtered through a microfilter and the bugs are kept out. An excellent method there to reduce microbial populations in solutions, okay, of heat sensitive material, okay? Because milk can't really handle the heat, because milk is it's a colloid. It's got proteins and sugars and all the fats and all these different things in it, right? There's a suspension there, and if we heat it up too hot, all those proteins there will become denatured and your milk won't taste good, right? Two kinds of filters here. I'm not too worried about these guys here, but two types. You've got what's called a depth filter, okay? Fibrous material bonded in a thick layer with twisting channels, okay? So it filters there by going through and things getting lodged in the side of it, okay? And that's what we call a depth filter there. So it goes through and things get in, all the contaminants get entangled and are not allowed to flow through, while what you want to flow through is going through easy peasy, right? We've got membrane filters here, circular pieces of porous material. Cellulose is a good one there, okay, which solutions are passed through under a vacuum. And we use that all the time there in the biology lab, okay? Here we've got these ones here. Here's an idea here of a membrane filter. Here's an idea here of a depth filter. Okay, not too bad. I'm not going crazy into these because there's many different kinds, and I don't even think they're even on the quiz. Okay, they're okay. Physical control bacteria by radiation, UV radiation. Okay, radiation. The electromagnetic spectrum, and this includes ultraviolet light, it includes X-rays, gamma rays, visible light there that we see. You've got infrared, radio waves. All these are waves of energy. Okay, and what we use there to see is a very, very small part of this spectrum of electromagnetic energy, okay? And ultraviolet UV radiation has a wavelength of about 260 nanometers, okay? And it is very lethal, okay? This UV light, it doesn't penetrate glass, dirt, or water effectively, and it's only used in specific situations. UV light there, they use it all the time. Okay, it's the black light. Okay, and they use that to kill bacteria, and it's a very effective way. Okay, and UV is not good for us either. Okay, that's why it's a good one. Ionization radiation, it has a wavelength of about 100 nanometers, so it's about half as small, okay, as this one. Okay, and it's an excellent sterilizing agent. Okay, deep penetration into objects, okay, destroys bacteria, endospores, but not terribly effective against viruses. So the smaller the wavelength, generally the more powerful the radiation is, because you've got a wave, and we're not going to get too technical here, but just trust me, the smaller the wavelength, the more powerful the wave is. And you'll see there that ionizing radiation, okay, very effective sterilizing agent, okay. It has a smaller wavelength, which means more powerful, okay. It's excellent for taking out bacterial spores, but not against viruses, okay. Used a lot in food preparation there, FDA approved this, these kinds of things, okay. Chemicals are more often employed in disinfection and antisepsis than physical methods. That's a good one there to know. So remember your physical methods there, fire, cold, all these radiation, all these ones right here. Those are your physical methods. Generally, we use chemicals more often. Okay, and like we're not going to light a fire in the Seneca College bathroom there to sanitize and disinfect the bathroom. No. Yeah, we're going to smoke out those bacteria. No, we're just going to use some pine salt and some ethanol, 70%, 99%, spray it all. There we go. We're good to go. Next bathroom, let's go. So chemicals are used more often than physical means. Many factors influence the effectiveness of chemical disinfectants and antiseptics. what kind of microorganism, okay, it is, and that will determine what path we're going to use as far as disinfectants and antiseptics. Okay, concentration, like I think they say there that any alcohol, ethanol over 70% is an effective way to stop the coronavirus. Okay, and anything under 60 or 70% is ineffective. Okay, so concentration of your chemical is very important as well. And length of treatment. How long do you have to maintain this? Right, all these different things. And the proper use of chemical agents is essential to laboratory and hospital settings. Sure. I was just using in the lab there this week. You know, students get in there, spray down your bench top. Okay, we've got the 70% ethanol everywhere. You know what I mean? Honestly, I had 20 bottles on this bench and 20 on that bench. And you do that at the start, you do that at the end. You know what I mean? That's just what it all is. Some more good definitions here that I want you to know. Antiseptic and disinfectant. We've already kind of covered this one, but we'll go through it here. Antiseptic chemicals here are compounds that prevent infections or sepsis. Okay, they inhibit or kill microorganisms, but are safe to use on skin and mucous membranes. So here, okay, 70% alcohol. Okay, have the bottle. I just did it there yesterday. Spray it on your hands. We use it all the time. All right, that's what we call an antiseptic. It's safe for human, safe for living tissue. Okay, disinfectants are not. So that's the difference between an antiseptic and a disinfectant. Okay, and antiseptics are not as strong as disinfectants. Okay, there you'll see disinfectants. These are compounds that can kill bugs and even some of their spores, but you don't use it on living tissue. Okay, and here are some chemical agents here. Most of them there you will see. Okay, ethanol 50 to 70%. That's what we're just talking about there. Okay, isopropanol. This is rubbing alcohol. Okay, and it's about the same range. Okay, antiseptic, iodine. Okay, which I don't think we actually have a bottle of iodine. We just use isopropyl alcohol, or hydrogen peroxide is another good one. If you got kids, kid gets a cut, put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide on there, and it doesn't hurt. You'll see a little bubbly fizz, and then you put a Band-Aid over. Good one there. No tears. Silver nitrate is another one there. Okay. Detergent, soap. And one of the things there, like soap, you don't really need to go out and buy the expensive antibacterial Dial soap. You know, it's like $6 for a little thing. Just go out and buy some normal, cheap Dove, Irish Spring bars of soap. Because what soap does, soap is the greatest antibacterial agent known, and probably the greatest discovery of human history. Because soap, they actually made soap 1,000 years ago, or maybe not, yeah, somewhere around in there. You make it from animal fat and wood ashes. So the ashes left over from a fire and animal fat, you mix them all together, and that's how you get soap. And what it does is soap attacks the membranes of the cell, because the membranes are fatty. They're lipids. Lipid means fat. And you'll know there, if you're making meatballs or something and you've got fat on your hands or oil or grease on your hands, you can put your hands under water and the water ain't going to remove that grease, right? The oil, because water and oil don't mix. We'll put a little bit of soap on there. What happens is that soap breaks up all the oil into little enough pieces that it can dissolve and wash away in the water. So soap is great. And phenolic compounds, phenol there, this is with benzene, very not the greatest stuff, but yeah, I would know ethanol, isopropanol, definitely detergents. Okay, that's what we're looking at there. And this one right here, that's a really good slide. Okay. Did I already look at that one? Yeah, there's more here. There's formaldehyde. Okay, it's smells horrible. Chlorine gas. Don't recommend it. Extremely deadly. But they use this there in World War One. One of the most painful ways you could ever go. Actually rips electrons right out of your lungs. Bad one. Yep. You've got mercury, some more phenolic compounds, ethylene oxide. I'm okay. You know, these ones here. Where I'm interested there is these guys here. Again, keep it simple. That's all. I'm kind of self-reflecting on the quiz and the test there that I've made, and there's nothing really too deep. Okay? And we're not really going too deep down the rabbit hole, and that's where I kind of like it. Okay? What have we got here? We're going to go into biofilms and how do biofilms form. Okay, we're almost done this section here. Biofilm is a collection of microbes. Slime. You'll see the slimy residue, and that's where the bugs are. They've kind of created their own environment where, you know, this is good for them. And we call this biofilm. And attached there to a surface, and I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit, see if I can get some pictures here. All right. And you'll see, we've all seen this there at pools, frog ponds, these kinds of things, right? And yeah, it's just a survival mechanism because a tabletop or the top of a stone is not the best place for a bacteria to be, but if these bacteria can make this slime, this biofilm, then now they've kind of artificially created an environment that's good for them on top of the stone or on top of, you know, a desk or something like this, right? So almost any surface will do. Okay, the presence of water helps. Okay, hot, cold, acid, clean, dirty, low oxygen, no light, high pressure, disinfectants, it's all good. Okay, this biofilm there helps with these guys here. Microbes, all types of microbes can be found in a biofilm. Yeast, mold, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, algae. Okay, they all make these. Okay, biofilms can be polymicrobic. What does that mean? Could be more bugs in there than just one. And you look at the lichen, you know, the green moss there that's on a rock or something like that. That's a combination of two bugs working. One bug is making one for another, making something there for another bug, which in turn produces something back to the original bug. There's a symbiotic relationship there. So, what do we got here? Biofilm, what do these photos have in common? Okay, they all got biofilm somewhere. They're all potential. They're all potential places. Okay, they're all potential, and they all need to be disinfected. Okay, if they possibly can. You look at the baby ring there, and anyone there who's had kids, like my kids now are 8 and 5, and they're as strong as a horse. Knock on wood, and they're just doing great. And but you look at all babies there in the first couple months of their life, they don't have an immune system. They got nothing. And that's why baby bottles, all these kinds of things, they're soothers. They have to be sterilized. Okay? Because they are bacterial breeding grounds. They really can be. And if you remember there from the week 3 PowerPoint there, bacteria, I think I showed you guys an electron micrograph of a pin, and there was hundreds, if not thousands, of bacillus bacteria on there, right? So what you see, there could be lots of stuff there. These biofilms form. You've got an attachment, growth, and detachment. And you're going to see generally when we get into viruses there's 5 steps to a virus attachment and what goes on in a virus cell life there, that kind of thing. And that's what we, nothing too crazy here. They attach to a surface, okay? And, and then they get their job done. They make their biofilm, they make their slime, and they've created an artificial environment there that now they can do their thing, and then away they're off onto another surface. That's how they do it, right? Um, Growth can be slow or fast depending upon the environment. A full community can form within hours. And, with geometric growth there, these bacteria, they replicate very fast. Okay. Cells are held together there. I'm not really interested in this. What I'm interested in is what is a biofilm. Okay. And within these biofilms, in creating their own artificial environment, it's their protection. Okay. These things are immune to physical removal completely. Like, how can you clean these things unless you get in there with chemicals and 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 you think 1,000 years ago, before we had isopropyl alcohol ready to buy at Walmart, what did people do? They used water. Maybe they didn't have access to running water. Maybe they didn't have access to soap and all these disinfecting chemicals. So these biofilm, these slime, that's why bacteria have been around for billions of years, because it's there. They create their own environment on your tabletop. And the tabletop, I'm looking at it, trust me, it's dry. It's not a great place for bacteria to live. But if they create their own biofilm there now, they've created their own environment and they're good to go. And with these biofilms, they're antibiotic resistant and all these kinds of things. It's incredible how they can create their own environment wherever they want. Remember there, biofilms form anywhere where there's water. Okay, biofilms can be microscopic, therefore you can't even see them. Surgical instruments and medical devices are prone to biofilm formation. Okay, that's why we put them through an autoclave, medical device reprocessing. Biofilms are very resistant to disinfectants. Okay, you've got a lot of proteins and sugars and fats in there. This slime is not going to be removed easily, which is the whole point, right? Fast turnaround time needed there during reprocessing promotes these biofilm formations. And they'll come back and they'll come back because these bacteria there, they'll know the more biofilm I produce, the longer we will live. The water quality is important. And you'll remember there, I think it was week 1, we talked about RO water. I think that there's a question in there. I'm pretty sure RO water, just its importance and its significance. So yeah, a little bit about this there. The presence of minerals, they're hard water as opposed to soft water. Okay. Water quality affects the detergents and disinfectants. Okay. Hard water will have a lot more minerals in it. And I don't know if you guys have heard of water softeners. They take the minerals out to make your water softer. It makes your hair all soft and silky. Contaminated water doesn't rinse water, contain bacteria. All these different things here. So water is important there, and the right water. Reprocessing. Okay, handling here, scratches, lubricants not removed, poor assembly, presence of particles, lint, hair, fibers, glove powder, etchings, use of hard chemicals. Okay, this here we're talking about surgical instrument reprocessing. Scratches in there, all these kinds of things there, they have to be looked at. And if a device has been used 100 times and it's on its last legs, then maybe it needs to go completely and not be recycled. Okay, because remember the golden rule. What's the context on this? Has it been disinfected? Or has it been sanitized? Did you clean this 100%? Is this one ready to perform open heart surgery on a patient right now? And if you cannot say 100% yes, then this needs to go. Okay? You've got to have context on this. Has it been cleaned? Has it been sanitized? If you're unsure, then it goes through the whole process again. Okay? What do we got here? There points to consider. The practices here when we're talking about time, too much time between use and processing. You can't let something sit there for 5 years and expect it to still be sterilized. Yeah, these are the things. And you got to do things right. Yeah, you guys can have a look at these there. Whoa, man, that guy must have been doing 100. Some points there to consider. Of course, the quality of the water, concentration type of detergent, an acceptable washing method. Here we're just talking about cleaning. Okay, and the speaking of cleaning there, I think we did week 2, we talked about washing your hands, and that was PPE. I tried to do my best there for the quiz and the test and not to favor one week over another. So you will see questions from all 4 weeks. We've done 2 weeks of microbiology, bacteria, these kinds of things, so that it'll appear there that we're doing more micro than anything. But there are just to let you know that there are questions on PPE. I even think there's one on hand washing. Okay, these kinds of things. So just things there to consider. Okay. Enzymatic and mechanical actions there. Okay, when we're talking about biofilm removal, how do you really get rid of this stuff here? Instruments should not be allowed to dry out before reprocessing. Okay, we want to keep things wet, right? Because let's say you have you eat some spaghetti and you scrape the spaghetti off your plate and then you just put the plate on the counter for a day or two. All that dried spaghetti, all those bits are going to adhere to the plate. If you had only washed it 10 seconds after you used it, it would have come off easy peasy, right? So we try not to let things dry out. Enzymatics there, they chew up, okay, the molecular glue that holds the biofilm together. So we can throw enzymes in here, mix them all in, and these enzymes will start to break down, okay, the biofilm. Most enzymatics do not have biofilm removal claims. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, the enzymatics can be contaminated. Elbow grease. I like that one. Get your elbow into it. When you're removing these slimy concoctions of bacterial biofilm there, oh yeah, you got to get some elbow grease in there, and that just means you're going to have to use your muscle and scrub these things off. And you may have to do it not once, not twice, maybe 3 times to get it all gone. Yep. Biofilm resistance to detergents and disinfectants, of course. Okay, back to the slime layer and 3D structure here. We've got, I'll just zoom over a bit here if I can. So the protects the microbes there from actions of detergents, right? Enzymatic disinfectants as well as antibiotics. These biofilms have been shown up to be 1,000 times more resistant. Can I move that over? Can I move this? So the biofilms can be up to 1,000 times more resistant. So not only are these bacteria, when we're talking about bacterial resistance and all these kinds of things, but the bio slime, this thing is 1,000 times more resistant on its own. All right. And so what an effective way of surviving if you're a bacteria. Crazy. Proper use of detergents there. You've got temperature, the dilution, the pH, all these kinds of things. Okay. So keep on moving. So if there's no water, then there's no biofilm. So we want to keep instruments dry. We want to keep things dry. And just the whole, like a big thing there, if you have a leaky shower and then the water, big problem is the leaky faucet and the water is going in behind the drywall in the wall. Because if you've got water, there are spores back in the wall that are just sitting there. And if you add a little bit of water, they could germinate and away you go. That's all you need. So if you want to keep things free of microorganisms, you just keep the water away as a preventative measure. Okay. Flexible endoscopes are reportedly associated with more documented cases of healthcare-acquired infections than any other type of reusable medical device. Okay. Big time. I think we talked about it there. Was it week 1? I think it was week 1. Don't quote me on it. But just the whole idea of people going into the hospital with an ailment, and they come out of the hospital with another one. Okay, these endoscopes there, these are the cameras there that go down, and you can see your ulcers, these kinds of things, and all that. And they have bronchoscopes, all these, all the way for the small intestine. But you know, if you're reusing these medical devices, there's a chance, and all you need is one spore to get through your gut, and now you've got an infection in your small intestine. What do we got here? There's our endoscopes again, and the biggest problem is that we can't see inside the scopes. To put it bluntly, we're just taking a shot in the dark with reprocessing. There you go. You know, like you have the outside of the scope, yet it's able to handle it's kind of non-reactive, waterproof there, so it doesn't interfere with your gut. Your gut won't interfere with it. But these bacteria, once they get inside, we can't get inside them. All right, and they account for a high number of transmitted infections. They really do. But we know about that. Go back to slide 1. There's lots on that. Why are these guys difficult there to reprocess? Complex design, multiple long, narrow channels, lack of consistent, effective training, lack of time and resources, these kinds of things. Basic steps there for reprocessing an endoscope. Okay, pre-cleaning at the bedside. So when you're about to put it into a patient, when you're about to take it out of a patient, when you're about to take it out of a patient, give it a nice clean. Okay, as best you can. Any type of mucus, any type of, I don't know, chunks or anything there, you know, the body can be a pretty disgusting thing. Trust me. Okay, so when you remove it there from the patient, you give it a good visible clean, transport it there to a reprocessing facility within the hour. You really don't want this thing to sit around for too long. Okay, give it a good manual cleaning, rinsing, high-level disinfection. We'll get more into these as the course goes on. We'll get into structural layouts and the actual process there of MDR. We'll get there, okay? We've said this there, just because it looks clean doesn't mean it's clean, right? If you're unsure about anything, clean it again. How does a clean scope acquire biofilm? As the scope is used, the surface is coated, or what we call conditioned, with body fluids. And you get proteins on and sugars, and you know, you're putting this down your esophagus, and if you're going through to your stomach or your lungs or wherever, you're going to get little bits and pieces of organic matter on there. Little bits of you know, part of your mucus will be on there. There's lots of your DNA and all these kinds of things. And if you don't clean this or disinfect it immediately after use before taking it to the process, on your way to reprocessing, bugs are going to land on that. And if they land on a sugar, then with a little bit of water, then now within 20 minutes you've got 2, 40 minutes you've got 4, and then within the hour you've got 8. And if you leave that sitting around in the closet in a dark space there, by tomorrow morning there, you'll have a little colony, which is what you do not want. Okay? I think this is the last slide here, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. The drying there is a critical step in reprocessing. Of course, like, it's one of the things there that I got to remember to do when I do the dishwashers. When you put your dishwasher on, there's a drying part to this, because you really don't want to put those dishes back into the pantry or on your shelf with a little bit of water on there, because if there's a little bit of water on those plates, you could have a bacterial, you most likely will have a bacterial infection within a day. Drying agents there, air and alcohol. Ethanol, high amount, isopropyl alcohol. It evaporates very readily. Okay. How to tell if a scope is not dry? Well, if it looks wet. That's how you tell if it's not dry. Biofilms will form anywhere there is water. There's a little conclusion here. Biofilms are almost impossible to remove once they've been established. Failure to completely clean and dry your instruments and endoscopes using the current guidelines may lead to biofilm formation. Biofilm must be completely removed, and you ensure there that reprocessing personnel properly trained and do their job and these kinds of things. Okay, so how are we doing there? That's the first part. Oh yeah, it's a long one. And but let's take 10 minutes now. Okay, it's 10:47. I'll see you guys back at 11 o'clock. And I'll stop this video here. I'm going to stop there. And I'll see you guys back at 11 o'clock. And we'll get on to viruses, mushrooms, and prions. That's some good stuff. Are we okay? We okay, guys? Thank you. We'll see you at 11 o'clock. Good job. Thank you.